Welcome back to your favorite show, Far From Finished, with your host, Daniel.
And Josh. Thank you guys for listening once again. Back at it with another episode of this big old pod that you guys like so much. And I'm glad that we're here because, Daniel, I want to let you know right now, I'm sweating, dude. I just got to your house and I'm sweating, bro.
He's sweating because it's hot in here. You know what they say, Josh? You can't take the heat. Stay out of the kitchen.
Well, maybe we can install a fan in the kitchen. How about that?
Welcome, everybody. This is Far From Finished. Alright, so I'm not too much of a political person. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of
Politics in general?
news. Yeah, I mean, I guess, you could say I kind of policies and stuff you have to care about to a degree.
Yeah, well,
yes.
I mean, I feel like at our age, it's so easy not to care about them because they don't really, not much of the policies necessarily affect us.
Well, some people, it depends.
Some people, but like at this age, not many things are affecting you per se. They affect like the average taxpayer, the average adult, or you know what I mean, people running shit. We don't really run that much at our age, like as far as like on average. Some people of course got their shit together, but as far as like our age group, don't really run that much shit, so we don't really have that much shit to worry about in the news cycle.
I get that, and policy is important, but I just can't stand people who pretend to be, this is what we're gonna do, not really caring about whether or not it goes through, or maybe some of them do, but most of them, it could go either way for them. Because regardless, they have benefits, they're going to be good, you know what I mean? Life's not going to be terrible for them. You're part of the government. I mean, I guess it could be terrible. Not everything's going to be good if you work for the government.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, everything has their ups and downs.
Exactly. But where I'm going with this anyways, and what I had to say was the Jeffrey Epstein thing that just happened recently, where he has this whole island, and he had, I guess, underage girls was the
It was like
premise.
kind of like you could call it a sex island, I guess. I mean, it was basically where he would, speculatively would bring powerful people in, not just Hollywood, but also New York, powerful people in the government, but also in entertainment, to this island where they would get treated with nice activities and amenities, and also potentially sex with underage females.
One of the articles actually that we had read, it had me really laughing because it set it up to as if he was, one of those stories. He was born to a gardener
and a homemaker, But no, they were saying that because it doesn't really add up how he amassed all of the money that he had to be able to pay for an island and be able to pay all these girls and be able to know all of these powerful people. Like the beginnings that he came from were humble, so it doesn't really add up as far as on paper where all of that came from. So
interesting. It almost sounds similar to the plot of an evil villain. Where they started off and it was
it reminds me of kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street, kind of it's he starts off he shows up to New York, he's with his wife, and he's all about her, and then all of a sudden he gets thrown into a world of cocaine, fucking hookers, and all kinds of shit.
Scamming people.
Now he doesn't know how to act. He doesn't remember where he came from.
That's a big thing, though. I think that's one of the biggest things that differentiates a lot of people is remembering where you came from, because it's easy to get lost in all of that.
Yeah.
And for him, apparently, it went off the rails big time.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know the specifics of his life, but I do know that he did enough stupid shit to get himself put in jail, and I guess knew enough information about some powerful people to be either killed in jail or be able to commit suicide while on suicide watch, which you tell me, folks, how the fuck does that happen?
They said that they took him off of suicide watch, but the interesting part about, even if that's the case, the interesting part is how the cameras for 30 minutes are shut off.
I think it was 3 hours.
What?
I think it was a 3-hour period of the cameras of his specific location being down, and then all of a sudden the cameras come back. He's dead. What the fuck?
What happened?
Oh no! How could this be?
Guard comes up. Wow, what are the chances?
Not on my watch. No way.
Well, obviously it wasn't on your watch because you weren't there. But it's just a wild thing to think about how this man accumulated all this wealth, got there. I mean, obviously he had to do some really shady and terrible things, but I think what's even worse personally, what people don't tend to focus on there, this man's terrible, is the fact that this man may be dead, and you can say good riddance, but a lot of the people he worked with are still alive.
And flowing perfectly in their businesses and potentially presidencies.
Exactly. These people in wealth and power are still out. His top clients, I guarantee you, are still out there. So he got the shit into the stick, if anything.
I mean, for sure. I mean, definitely so. Obviously, he wasn't a stand-up guy by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, had a ring of like a sex ring full of underage females. I don't know whether he was forcing these people to do it, if he had blackmail on these girls, or like what the deal was, if he was paying them, if it was consensual. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that it's illegal to fucking have a sex ring full of underage females for sure.
Well, a lot of the accounts definitely wasn't consensual, and it's definitely illegal either way it goes, as you would say. It's not right for him to do that. It's kind of crazy because accusations go all the way back to 2000. So this has kind of been a deal, and it's kind of been something that's came up multiple times since then as well. Finally, they reopened the case just recently in 2019, early 2019. And of course, they arrest him as he's getting off the plane, I guess, because they searched his mansion. I'm assuming they found evidence in there to indict him, and of course, led to ultimately a suicide in his cell.
Well, to be exact, the accusations go back to March 2005 when Florida police investigate Jeffrey Epstein for sexual battery following accusations that he paid female minors for sex. So that's whenever everything kind of started.
And it's taken until now for it kind of to pick up. Well, not really to pick up, but for things to get done. Right. How many years is that? That's well over 10 years at this point.
14 years. Because it wasn't even until, like, I think February of this year that they, like, brought the case back up and I think reopened it. And then, like, around June or July, maybe, is whenever you started hearing, like, that he got, like, picked up and, like, put in jail. And then all of a sudden you see, like, a few days later that he was on suicide watch. And what was it, like, 30 minutes to, like, 3 hours span of, like, him being off suicide watch. The cameras go down. He dies suspiciously.
I think it's weird because even if that is the case, my whole point's not to just focus on what's going on with him, because that's bad, but more the fact that all these major people, quote unquote, that were supposed to be going to this place, supposed to be receiving acts from these young women, and these are people leading the country, are people in power, people that have money, and the thing that's the worst about it is nothing's happening because they do have that power, and money is associated with power at some point, so they're able to work their way around it. Someone's probably getting paid off, or, regardless of that factor, you're not going to be able to touch them because they have so many people in their corner. They know someone doing this or doing that.
And these are the world's elites we're talking about. I mean, potential presidents. I mean, if they were saying that Bill Clinton and President Trump were linked with this dude, like, that's fucking insane. That they potentially, it's a potential for two of our country's presidents to be linked to a sex ring full of teenage girls. It's fucking insane, bro. Like, these people lead our country, or are supposed to, at least.
It really makes you think about good and bad. At the point where I'm not a person who really cares about money, I'm not a person who makes it a priority, but I also am a person that understands that money is what runs things and that you need it. So it's really bad to say that in order to really make a difference at times, you can make small differences, you know what I mean, here and there in your daily life. But what do you think? Do you think we're actually able to make a difference when you have people such as these corrupt people doing these terrible things to young women, or who knows what, could be killing people and getting away with it?
Could be. I mean, to answer your question, I think yes, but the problem with that yes is that there's a limitation that you can put on that change. It's like, with so many people in the place of power and having dumb amounts of money, it's only so much you can do to create change. You can create change in your community, and your community can create change in the next community, but eventually that's going to take an eye of somebody somewhere that's taking a deficit in profit on their company or their stocks or whatever it is, and eventually somebody's going to have a say in that. Now, whether that means people are gonna die or people are gonna get paid off to shut up or whatever happens, it just seems like that's the way the world has worked for a long time.
I don't know if you know the story of Tesla.
Nikola Tesla?
No, not Nikola Tesla. I'm gonna get there for sure though. More so the story of Tesla right now.
The company.
The company Tesla.
like
Elon Musk.
Okay.
Exactly. So him coming up, all these oil companies did whatever they could, give bad reviews, talk the most shit, say this is terrible, down the company, put efforts in, like money, actually put money into organizations that would go against his company
Right.
in order to make sure it wouldn't succeed. Because of course, what is he creating? Electric cars. What are these electric cars doing? Taking away money from oil industries.
Right.
And the electric car is one of the biggest but innovations that's come about that's gonna definitely change the path. And
Especially if we can use that engineering to create electric planes, electric helicopters, or potentially even like electric housing and things like that. Like to be able to use that technology to create an entirely like free energy like source for the entire country or world.
It's really interesting to me to see Tesla succeed where it is now, considering Nikola Tesla, where of course the name comes from, who created essentially the energy we use every day. He didn't invent electricity, but how we use electricity.
Which is the alternating current.
Exactly, between electrical systems. So just to explain that a little bit, it's kind of crazy because how your lights work now, if you plug something in, your computer, all that. How we have power lines.
How you charge your phone.
Everything. So he kind of helped build that, but even further than that, what's most interesting to me is what they say free energy. If you look into it, some say it's a conspiracy, but if you really look into the science of it, and look into the basics, it's a really interesting thought on it and how he captured energy that flows freely through the air and was able to create a machine that captures that and circulates to create energy within a certain radius around it. Without it, you don't need any plugs, anything like that, but it naturally just uses the energy in the air to create more energy around it.
So like essentially like a bubble around, like to use your phone as an example, to basically charge your phone by like inserting it into a bubble, and that bubble being able to like extract the energy from the air around it, or the energy
is,
around
right?
it.
You know
Yes.
what EMP is? Think of the opposite of an EMP.
Okay.
So EMP is able to what? Discharge anything.
It's an electronic something pulse. I don't know, but yeah, it definitely it kills like all of the electronics in the like radius of its like I guess detonation. So you're saying that it would
work the
boost
opposite.
all of the electronics in its
Yes, you wouldn't need electrical really anymore because
it wouldn't be powered by anything. It would be powered by I guess
that source.
itself.
And it has a radius, which I believe it was said almost a whole city. It'd be able to basically function. So with that being said, of course, big energy. J.P. Morgan at the time ransacked his whole laboratory and destroyed everything. Threatened him pretty much his life, saying you're not going to do this again.
Okay.
Took all the papers, everything written about it, and supposedly other scientists have created it as well. But those people have also had run-ins with people destroying
big energy in quotations is what you're saying.
So everybody that runs the electrical companies.
Right.
It's kind of a crazy thing to think about because if we really wanted to make a difference, and I think about this all the time because I really am a firm believer in making change, and I try to better myself every day, and I truly devote myself to that. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I work at it,
Yeah.
But it's when you take a look at it, is it actually possible? Is it something that's really possible to do? You can make small changes and feel good about it, but will the world ever really change? And will we really ever really be able to make an impact on the world that we live in? Or are we going to completely destroy it because of the people that do control the money?
Well, isn't that like kind of the same thing about like they have those doctors that they talk about who have found like cures to cancer and cures to HIV and things like that, and all of a sudden you hear that their research got defunded and that they maybe ended up in jail for like giving out administrations that weren't approved by the FDA or things like that. Have you ever heard about things like that?
I haven't. No.
No, that shit's fucking insane, bro. Like Carlos, our good friend Carlos told me about this like way back when, like probably when we were still in high school. He was showing me like articles about this shit. It was like people that were in the state of Texas that were like probably like North Texas, probably like around like the Denton area, were having like labs where they were creating like literal like cures for HIV and cancer and things like that that seemed uncurable at the time. And all of a sudden you hear that one of the scientists died. I forgot his name. The other ones got defunded. All of a sudden the research got thrown out. And there was like actual people that said that they got cured. That's the crazy part. There was actual people that said this shit works. Like, it cured my fucking cancer. And all of a sudden you just get thrown out. Like, that's because of what?
Money.
Exactly.
You ever heard of holistic medicine?
Isn't that like
It's natural. It's all natural. Holistic medicine is all natural. It's what you eat, what you intake, your diet, everything. So basically, it's the fact of taking the science of knowing all of your plants, all your vegetables, all your foods, what goes with what, and how it's gonna affect your body, and how your body has natural healing already.
And how it's gonna your body's gonna react to this.
And it's exactly, and naturally heal your body.
Okay.
And people have also found, actually, I've heard cures to cancer with that as well. But there's ways to boost your immune system, to basically help your respiratory system, a bunch of things to help naturally heal your body if you eat right, if you start eating certain things, certain proteins, and it all depends on your body as well. But people say that's not real.
But the thing is that with how much money that pharmaceutical companies make and how much money that they make off of hospitals and keeping people there, and how much money they make off of rehab centers because of how many people get fucking hooked on the pharmaceuticals. Why would they allow that to see the surface today? How many people know about holistic medicines? How many people know that there is a way, or there is change out there? And how many people are able to know that? And who's stopping those people from knowing?
But even if they do know it, what are we going to do about it now? So is the only way to do it is get a whole bunch of money, but even then you're fighting a whole system that's already in place.
I guess the only way to do it is maybe not necessarily focus on the money, but focus on the system and potentially find a way to tear it down maybe from the inside out, maybe from the outside in. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing to do because we still have these systems in place.
And that's illegal.
It is illegal, but I mean, wasn't it illegal for the I guess at the time the American people to revolutionize from England? Wasn't that illegal? Wasn't it illegal to go to war?
Yeah, it wasn't legal to go to war.
I mean, it wasn't illegal to kill people at that time. Were they still doing it? Didn't it kind of need to happen? I mean, I'm not saying that killing people needed to happen because that's not good. And I'm also not saying that revolutionizing is the way to go. What I am saying is that maybe some bad things have to happen for the greater good.
And that's a tough point to sell, is that bad things have to happen in order for the greater good. Because when it comes into morality, things good, what's bad is the person stealing bread from the store to feed their family because they have no more money because they spent all their money on medicines. Let's say if you have spent all your money on insulin for your child because they have diabetes,
right?
But you know how expensive is that, and you can't afford food. So is that person a villain?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, in the eyes of the law.
Yeah, but who's setting the law? The people with the money, right?
You ever heard of the 12 families? Have you ever heard of?
I mean, I've heard of, like, I guess you could say, like, what the
12 families are.
Yeah, what it represents, but I don't know the specifics of it.
Okay, so basically the 12 families. This is also quote unquote a conspiracy. It's kind of hard to say it's a conspiracy at this point if you really do the research. One good documentary to watch. Also, I'm not saying it's all facts. Most of it's pretty true though. It would be Thrive, or if you've seen Zeitgeist, of course, it's a classic. But
both are strongly recommended on my part, but also strongly disputed on most parts.
Yeah, a lot of people would say, "Oh, that's bullshit," but I definitely would give it a watch. It gives a lot of good perspectives on things, and it kind of explains. Sorry, real quick. I'm just gonna finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, it explains how if you look at all these big companies, whether it's pharmaceuticals, food companies, go all the way back, like all these big brand names,
ammunition, guns, all that shit,
everything. It goes back to these big corporations, and then you have to keep going back. Who owns those? Then who owns those? After that, who owns those? If you keep going back and figure out, who owns all this stuff, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it's like, so these people really own all this.
Right.
And then, oh, these people really own all this. And the fact of the matter is, you trace it back, it's 12 families that really own everything. They own everything.
Right.
And if you look at the federal bank is what? It's not owned by the government. Everyone thinks the federal bank's owned by the government. It's its own business.
Right.
It's its own run bit. Like, how the people that are distributing our money and making our money
Don't work for the government.
they're their own business, making money. Does that make sense to you?
Definitely not.
Look it up. And you can think I'm lying. That's a fact that you can actually look up. It's not owned by the government. The federal bank is a privately owned business. If that doesn't corporate America, then what does?
That's a little scary. But like, that's what I'm saying though. Is like, okay, so at that point, do you think that these families are together? Like, do you think that they like communicate with each other and know that they have like a web that runs the world, or do you think they're on like their own shit? Like this is our shit. Don't touch our shit. Like, as far as like the 12 families go, like, do you think that they work together to run the world the way that they want to? Or do you think they run their worlds 12 separate ways?
I think they have to have contact at some point between each other to ensure that their power stays. You think you're going to have some other family try to come up and waltz in and say, I have power now?
Isn't that kind of how, like, in the past, like, empires have fallen and rise? Like the Roman Empire and like the fucking Crusades and like all the Chinese dynasties and all that shit. Like, one of those, like, the dynasty had to end, right, for another one to start, correct?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. What caused the end and what caused the start? Don't you
It's
think
a revolution every time.
Exactly. Don't you think that maybe these 12 families will have some disputes along the way, potentially cause a revolution?
Sounds like a cartoon. Like, you know, it's like 12 families got these heroes coming, like they're fighting them off, waiting for the day that the one true hero comes along to battle all the evil villains.
That would be live though. Like, I feel like we could create something like that. That would be dope. We should write that down.
Right, that's kind of a cool idea.
It's like a Scott Pilgrim, but instead of like ex-boyfriends, you're fighting like evil families that run the world.
Families, it's like you got this superpower out of nowhere. I'm gonna come one by one, destroy the whole system.
Said, I'm fucking you up. You thought you could run this way? You thought you could fucking control the world and ruin millions of people's lives for your profits? Time to pay for this shit. And I'm giving you a taste of your own medicine, bitch.
That would be a good idea for a show. It's pretty wild. It's just, that's the world we live in. And to think, is there time to make a change? And it's even scary to say there might be a revolution, because at that point, are we going to be a part of it? And
Will we
even
know
at that
about
point, is it going to be a revolution? What's going to come first? The revolution in which we finally realize, hey, let's take our world back, make it a better world. Let's start worrying about the environment. Let's start taking these things in consideration. Just recently, Trump signed something to basically say, screw the environment, and basically encourage oil and gas. To support oil and gas a little bit more. That's terrible. That's frightening.
It's money.
So what's going to come first?
Money.
The revolution, or the money? Of course, the money, but the destruction of our Earth.
Well, probably the destruction of our Earth if it keeps going the way that it's going. As far as that, whenever you have these people in power, the thing that is mostly keeping them in power is not just of course, it's the like overwhelming amount of wealth that they've like have together, and like the accumulation of power that they have, but it's also the fact that as they get more power and as they get more money, the people that should be revolutionizing get less and less and less motivated to actually do anything or to actually make change, to actually they get more sunken into the hole that they've not necessarily dug for themselves. These people that have the power dug these holes, and they said, we're going to put these people in them, but they're going to dig the rest of the way because they're not going to try to get out of it. They're going to allow us to put them in this hole.
So do you think the only way is all the most powerful people, as of right now, somebody's going to have to step up and create their own elite group of 12 people?
Either that,
12 families, but on the opposite end.
Either that, or we're going to have to wait for all 12 families, like, most powerful leader of the pack to fucking die and let their kids figure this shit out. Like, that's really, like, I mean, I don't know if that's the only way, But somebody at that level of power is going to have to make a change or make a statement that inspires people to make an actual change. Because if you don't have it, like, it's really like, it's not hard to inspire people to make change, but it's hard to inspire all, like, an entire group of people that you would call the United States of America, or you could call Earth, to make change for the betterment of the society, not just like the society of, hey, this is Texas, or hey, this is America, or hey, this is North America. No, the Earth society of people that we have here, if we want to continue to be here. It's like you said, what's going to come first, the revolution or the destruction of our planet?
Exactly. And for me, I think it's dumb to think, oh, the president or this person's ruling this, or this, you know, you have your leaders of each country. But at the end of the day, there's somebody in their ear telling them what to do.
Right, and whenever you could also think about it this way, is like, just because that person's on your TV and that person lives in the White House, do you think that person doesn't get controlled by somebody? You think that person doesn't have people in their ear? You think that person doesn't have a boss? Why?
That's a job.
Right.
For a short period of time.
The only people that don't have a boss are the people that are fucking jobless.
Or, you know, the people running everything.
Even the people running everything probably have some shit that they got holding them down, like a wife.
That's potential, yeah.
But I'm saying is, like, even they answer to somebody, a mother or a father, you know what I mean? Like, they answer to somebody. So it's like, the only people that don't answer to nobody are the people that are homeless and jobless, because they said, fuck y'all.
I don't know. I feel like the jobless might still have a wife.
Potentially.
So,
yeah, you're right.
You know, so most of the time, you probably got somebody to answer to, or something to answer to. It's a tough thing, though, to figure out what's good, what's bad. Because for me, man, it's a constant thing that I battle with every day, because I'm a firm believer. Everyone always wants to say, oh, you're a bad person for this, or this is what a good person would do. Not all good people do good things. Right. Not all bad people only do bad things. Bad people can do good things, and good people can do bad things.
It's all about capability.
And it's what's good to who and what's bad to what. It's where do your morals lie and where are your values. Because let's be honest, most people might have morals and values, but how often do you truly stick to those? How often are you through and through with those morals and values? Do you stand firm in what you believe in? And if you want to say you're a good person, how often do you really care about other people? Because I know so many people that will go ahead and say, I'm a good person, but I know for a fact you're not worried about what the next person's doing. If that person's in trouble, you're not going to go out of your way to save them. So at the end of the day, you have to think about to yourself. Are you really that good of a person? Probably not.
Well, that's whenever you kind of have to get into the nitty-gritty of, like, what defines a good person. I mean, like, don't get me twisted. You don't have to go and save everybody that seems like they're in distress that you ever come across just to be a good person. But if you have the capability to help, you should, in all senses. If somebody wrecks their car and it seems like they're in bad shape, but you don't even have the time to dial 911, hey, I just witnessed an accident, you're a fucking terrible person. Stop coming with that good person shit. Nobody's expecting you to get out of the car, go onto the scene, rip them out of the car, help them if they need CPR, do all this shit. Nobody's telling you got to be trained to do all that shit or even willing. But dial a fucking number, bro. Like, help out in some way if you can. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't have to do the most. You don't have to be fucking Jesus Christ out here. You just have to literally do what you can. That's not hard.
Yeah, sometimes people do go up and beyond. You know, you hear these stories.
Those are heroes.
Exactly. And you hear stories recently, you know, especially with all the shootings. Rest in peace, all of the people out there.
For sure.
Thoughts and prayers. I hate saying that, but...
I hate saying that, too.
I hate saying it because at the point, what action are you really taking? But what I'm saying is there are those people who step in front of other people to take the bullet. And that's a hero. That's someone... They may have done whatever they've done in their past, but they put someone else in front of themselves in that moment.
And it's like, if anybody was to ever even try to put slander on that person's name because of something they did, it's like, okay, but they just saved 2 people's daughters. What are you gonna say about that?
Would you be willing to put yourself in front, or put 2
other
people in front
took that
of
bullet?
yourself?
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, you can say that as far as it affects you, but you have no idea what you're talking about because those weren't your kids that almost died because of this person.
One of the biggest things I'm not a perfect person, and I'll always say that, and I have my mistakes, but I do try to be the best person that I can be and help who I can when I can.
Right.
And what I'll say, one of my biggest things I always look for, and one of the biggest things that always kind of helps me judge a person's character is how they treat other people, or how they are around other people, or how they react to other people. Because if you're the type of person, I see this all the time. Someone will talk to somebody, and that person will just not listen. I'll be the only one listening. I'll sit there and I'll listen to you. You obviously felt like you had something to say. Unless, don't get me wrong, you're the type of person who just talks to hear themselves talk, so you just, it's every day, all day.
No,
it's like, give somebody else a
I feel what you're
chance.
saying. Whenever somebody's really trying to get their point across and really has like some passion behind what they're saying, but nobody's giving them the time of day, of course I'll listen to you. Like, this seems like at least you're interested enough to have this conversation, so why wouldn't I show you the same interest, or at least common courtesy? Like you said, it might be bullshit, but I mean, I could sit here and have a bullshit conversation with you if it'll make you feel better.
And the thing is, too, one of the reasons also, you're one of my good friends, and the people I have in my life are close to me, is because any of us, we may not be perfect, and we may be assholes on occasions and say how we feel. We're not going to show love to every single person. Because granted, I might show some kind of respect towards you in a sense, but that doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily respect every single person.
It's like you don't have to necessarily respect people for like what they do or like how they act or how they are on a regular basis, but you can still be respectful and show them respect. Necessarily, they might not deserve it, but if I don't know this person, they deserve it. Because, I mean, like, I don't know you. I have zero reason to disrespect you. So I'm going to treat you with respect.
Exactly. And then what I do, though, is the reason that I do like hanging out with y'all, and y'all are my good friends, is because you're always yourself. And even though you do have those moments, you might not necessarily fully respect every single person because they don't deserve it. But to a degree, you're not going to go out of your way to disrespect anybody.
Right.
And you're always going to be friendly if you can, and you're going to talk to somebody and get to know somebody if they can. And that says a lot about someone's character, is even though you're going to say what you feel, you're going to say how you feel. Even if I may not like you, I'm not going to pretend to like you. And the fact of the matter is, if someone is out there and they might need something, if I can help, will I? Yes. But at the same time, I'm not going to just pretend like everything's okay if it's not.
I'm a big believer in whenever it comes to conversations, when somebody tells you that they don't have time for this or like they don't need to hear this, their argument went through the floor a long time ago. They do not know what they're talking about, and they're mad at you because you proved them wrong. That's terrible. These people out here do not know how to take being wrong. It's okay to be wrong, guys. It's okay. It's all right. Nobody's expecting you to be a human encyclopedia or fucking dictionary. You can be wrong sometimes. That's how you learn. The only way to learn 2 + 2 is to say 5 and everybody laugh. Now you know it's 4, bitch. You're not gonna say 5 ever again.
I might say
Promise.
5 just to joke around.
Okay, fair enough. But that's what I'm saying. Is like you gonna understand that. The only way to know that stove is hot, whenever you're young, your parents gonna tell you it's hot, but you gonna put your hand up there and find out how it feels, right? That's what I'm saying. It's like learn through experience. Don't choose to be right every time just so that you can be right. If somebody has a valid point, somebody brings some information to the table, and you do not know what you're talking about, and your argument goes to the floor, be like, yo, you right, my fault. Like, damn, thank you for talking about this, because I probably would have been looking like a damn fool to everybody else. You know what I mean? It's like, I appreciate when I'm wrong, but you better prove me wrong.
Exactly. And when it comes to good and bad, we always want to wrap it around, I'm right because I feel this way, or I'm wrong when I feel this way. But the fact of the matter is, we're all going to be wrong, and sometimes we're all going to be right. It doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. It's your judgment at the end of the day, and it's your character. And sometimes you might be the bad guy doing the right thing, or you seem like the bad guy, if that makes sense. You could be doing the right thing, but if it's not the right way that someone wants you to do it...
If it doesn't fit the right agenda.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the show The Boys. You know, if you're not looking like you're a hero, you're not really the hero. You know,
right.
You could be doing all this other stuff. You might be saving everybody, but you're murdering a bunch of people in order to save everybody.
Well, I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, that's the way that... Okay, so spoiler alert. That's the way that some of the heroes put it, but you don't have to do that. That's the thing. Is like you can do that because that's the easy way to be a hero. The best way to be a hero is to clean up everything. clean it all up so it makes you look like you're the good old dandy. The thing is that the public's not supposed to know what you're actually capable of. They're supposed to know that you're a superhero, and that you look good on stage, your hair's done right, your cape looks nice. That's what they're supposed to know. They're supposed to look up to you. But they don't really want to know how you took out the bad guy. They don't want to know that you lasered-eyed through his face and melted his skin. They don't want to know that you hammer-fisted somebody's rib cage into the next room. They don't want to know that shit. That shit's gory as fuck.
You think you want to see a bunch of dead bodies in
Fuck
a room?
no, they don't want to see
You're
that
a murderer.
shit. And especially these fucking 3-year-olds buying the action figures don't want to see that shit. And their parents would be fucking insane to allow that. To allow that to happen, it'd be insane. But the thing is, that's the problem. People want their heroes to do everything the way of the law or the way that what's right in their head. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you gotta, sometimes whenever somebody's trying to kill you, what, I'm gonna die? I'm supposed to just die now because this person's trying to kill me? No. You're supposed to protect yourself. And if that means you gotta kill somebody because they are coming at you so hard that they're gonna kill you if you don't kill them, what are you gonna do? It's up to you. You know what I mean? At that point, are you gonna say, I'm a bad person because I killed somebody?
But you just saved all these
You
people.
can't say you're a good person if you say that I didn't kill somebody because you'd be dead. You couldn't say shit at that
Even
point.
at that note, if you didn't kill them, what if that person you know is about to murder a bunch of people,
Right.
and you have to kill? Are you the bad person at the end of the day? You murdered somebody,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
but you
though.
also saved thousands of people.
So that's what I'm saying is like whenever you look at good and bad, you have to understand intention rather than action.
Sometimes,
More
or know
than
the
like,
purpose behind it. You know.
Well, that's intention. What
I
are you
mean,
talking about? That's
yeah,
what
you're
intention
right. My
is,
bad.
Daniel.
Give me a moment.
There we go,
Brain
buddy.
fart.
That's what I'm saying. And that's how I feel about language. That's how I feel about like actions as far as like anything that's going on. It's like you can literally say or do whatever you want as long as you have pure intentions. Do you know what I mean? Killing somebody isn't a bad thing if your pure intent is to save other people's life or your own.
But I mean, it depends. What I meant when I said purpose behind it is because also if it comes to this case, your pure intentions, you think I'm saving society by wiping out all these people.
Okay, well, obviously...
You know what I mean?
Obviously, we're
That's
not
where you
fucking Thanos out
You
here.
get psychopaths. You know what I mean?
Right,
People
right.
do that though.
I see what you're saying, but that's what I'm saying. You have to obviously okay, no, that makes sense. So your intent can be pure, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're coming from a correct or factual place. You could be insane and have pure intent. I feel what you're saying. You could think that like how I don't know how the religion works, but I guess like the whole like Muslim bombing thing, like Allah Akbar. This is for I'm like saving, like I'm a savior for my people type shit.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Is like that's pure intent with false false facts to back up that intention. They purely think that they're helping their cause, but they're not. I mean, I don't.
It's radical.
Right.
And I have to say, just on that note, it's kind of crazy to me how people see Muslims as those type of people, or, not all people who wear hijabs
Right.
are Muslim,
I know
first of
that
all,
for
either.
sure.
There's other religions that wear that. But to think that they're terrorists because one or two incidents, when we've had multiple incidents,
Right.
just, if not worse, than these things at this point,
First of all, yeah, I mean, there's probably more kids died this year in school shootings than in the past 10 years in bombings.
And that's just a wild thing to me as well. How we paint the picture of certain people and paint the image of certain people. We gotta start being transparent.
But that goes back to the power things. Like, who do you think's painting that picture?
Exactly.
Are you painting that picture?
And so these.
You've never met those people.
And what's
Do you know
crazy?
what I mean? It's like, who's painting that picture for you, and why are you allowing that picture to be painted?
And a lot of us see these people as bad, but also a lot of us see these things that we have in place as correct, or the way it's supposed to do, or what else can I do about it? And those are the things that are gonna get us stuck, and already have got us stuck in a cycle of destruction.
We're still there with the fucking camps for the people in Mexico, like that we have like at the border. That shit's happening. Like we're just standing by like it's not.
People think that the government has something to do with kids going missing. I mean, and
Or
with
kids
stuff
being
like
or kids being sexually insulted in there.
exactly.
Like
I mean,
what
with,
the fuck? Like what are you talking about? You're saving these kids or you're saving this country? Like what are you really doing? You're taking kids away from their parents. That's fucking vile. Like how like you feel good about yourself? You're saving your Uncle Sam, like you're saving your tax dollars. That's what you're doing? Okay, no, you're creating a destruction of life. These kids probably do not know what's going on. They don't understand why they're being taken away from their parents, and their parents probably want to kill themselves or kill the people taking them away from their kids.
here's a
That's
thought.
fucking insane. Bro.
Exactly. Here's a thought on that. Is okay, you have two kids in front of you. Would you shoot both of those kids in the head? And if you say yes, obviously you're a psychopath. And if you say no, that's terrible, but you're allowing these kids to go into these camps and potentially die, and you're okay with that, you're still a murderer at that point.
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
you're allowing these, you're letting yourself saying, oh, it's not my problem, these kids can die. At that point, you're still a murderer. If you can prevent something from happening, but you say it's not my business, then what are you at the same point?
But that's what I'm saying. That, like that, like I don't know how it's working, but like if you work at these camps and if you're one of these officers watching over these children, bro, if that's me, you gonna have to commit. You gonna have to put treason on me or some shit, because I'm getting as many of those kids out of that shit as possible. You tripping? You fucking putting kids in basically concentration camps just because they weren't born on this side of the line in the sand that doesn't exist. The imaginary line in the sand that goes from Mexico to United States. You put a little fucking fence up. You put a wall up, so it's a real line now. Like what are you talking about? They weren't born on this side. They were born on this side. But if they were born on the side that says United States, then they are good to stay. But since they were born 1 mile south, sorry, get a life.
First of all,
Figure your own
Texas-
shit out.
Texas was Mexico first. I just want to put this
So
out
was
there.
most of New Mexico and Arizona
Exactly. So at that point,
and California.
this is our land now. Like, shut up. It was their land first.
And like even that is like, okay, you purchased the land, but are you saying that just because you drew a line in the sand and said this is ours now, that all the people on the other side don't matter to you? Those are still human lives. Fuck you, bro. And you could say that they don't matter to you, but as soon as you start taking action to impede on their freedom or their livelihoods, that takes it to a point where they do matter to you. They matter to you in a point where you want to destroy them. That's why they matter to you, because they're creating a ruckus or they're taking away all the jobs or whatever you want to chalk it up to. They do matter to you. At that point, the only way they don't matter to you is if they show up on your land, do what you can. I mean, they don't matter, right? They're people, right? You know what I mean? You want to push this narrative that you care about people, you care about the betterment of life. Like, that's what I'm saying is like, why are we having presidents run for president if on like a basis of I'm trying to make America great again? Okay, that's cool. What about the rest of the world? Like you're supposed to represent us as far as this is America, right?
To the world.
To the world. Does that mean that you're not supposed to care about the rest of the world too? You're supposed to represent us as a unit to other countries as far as like what we can do, what we can change, what we can cause for there to be a better life for all
But
humans
look
on
where
Earth.
we've come, man.
But that's what I'm saying.
Look what we've come to.
Now we have a popularity contest to see who gets to run America for 4 years. What the fuck is that, bro?
What have we come to, man? It's scary, especially when you have stuff hearing about. That's why I always talk about Epstein. When you hear stuff come up, and then you also see things, concentration camps. You know, see these things happen. They could be taking those kids and putting them in stuff like Epstein's situation.
It could be. That's what I'm
Sex
saying.
trafficking these kids, and it could be the government. I'm not saying it is.
And the thing about that is, who would tell you? Who would know? Only the people that would know would be the people that work there and the people that work on like where those people are supposed to be going and saying like, oh, this name's not on the list, or like we thought you had more people than this type shit. Like that would be the only people that know, because that's not gonna meet the mainstream media. You think that they're gonna talk about how the government is taking kids away from their families just to sell those kids in a sex trafficking like ring? I mean, I don't know if that's happening. That's purely speculative. But if that was the case, who would know? Really nobody, right?
Nobody. It's a tough situation. There's a lot of darkness in the world, but I believe that we have a lot of potential as well. A lot of good things happening. A lot of people working on recyclable. A lot of people working on vegan options. Which, don't get me wrong, if too many people are vegan as well, that's kind of bad. You need a balance in life for things not to get destroyed. You know.
Right.
Because the problem is not necessarily mass production of meat. It's mass production in general. Mass production of anything is terrible. To better ourselves, sometimes it may seem like things are dark, and you may have to do some things that may not seem like the best thing to do in order to make a bigger change later. And it's tough to make these decisions sometimes, but I think we need to reflect on ourselves and understand the world is a tough place full of tough decisions, and every decision we make makes an impact. I'm not saying you should go out and be radical, but what we need to understand is sometimes it may take a big decision to really change for the world that we want to see, and it's going to be a big problem to get there, considering that the world that we live in is run by money, it's run by corporations, it's run by people that don't want to see half of us succeed. It could care less if we live or die. Who cares if you're poor? Who cares if you're living on the streets? And we've been kind of accustomed to these things, and it's terrible to see. We've lost a lot of our humanity, I think, personally, and I think we could gain some of that back and understand that we can still evolve, we can become better, we can watch the world grow, we can see the grass become greener, we can watch as less fuel emissions into the air, we can work on new energy sources and actually see what we want to see, and that's a better world to live in for our children. But that's not going to happen unless we actually stand up and realize this is the situation we're in. You know, people always talk about we're in the Matrix.
Right.
Maybe it's time for us
simulation theory.
Yeah, well, not just the simulation theory. It's the fact of we're stuck in this cycle. We're stuck in this life that we think is our life, and we believe that this is the only way to live it. When if you step outside the box and see life for what it really is, you realize I'm just a player in this game, and I can actually make a difference.
Well, I guess that's when the question comes. It's like, how do you take the ideal of mass production and turn it towards inspiration, towards change? How do you mass produce inspiration?
That was a really good one. You got me stuck there, Josh. I really like that, honestly.
I mean, because, like, you have, like you said, the meat companies or whatever you want to say, guns or whatever you want to put it towards. Like, they have an ideal in mind that everybody needs this. It's like, if we understand that everybody needs change and that it takes everybody to create change, how do we mass produce inspiration to do that? And I mean, like, I don't know, I expect you to have the answer, but I guess that's a question for all of you. It's like, whenever you think about that, it's like, what can you do? And whenever you think about what you can do, think about how many other people can do that too for themselves and for their communities. And if we all collectively did what we needed to do, did what needed to be done, not just for ourselves, but for our neighbor as well, helped each other out, cared more about things that do matter rather than what time it is or how many notifications you got on Twitter, how many likes that post you got. Fuck that shit, it doesn't matter. What does matter is whether or not you're eating, whether or not the people around you are eating, whether or not the people around you have happy lives. If they don't, why not? If somebody's impacting that, who is that? Why are they doing it? Ask yourself these questions. Be educated. Educate yourself. It doesn't take too much energy to step outside of the box, like he said, and actually take life in for what it is, rather than what it's made out to be by somebody else. Somebody that's making a profit off of you thinking that way. Somebody that's making a profit out of all of us thinking that we have zero ability for change or ability to make a change in this country, in this world, however you want to see it. You have to do what you can, no matter what, because people are going to tell you that you can't. If you listen to them, they control you.
I think I want to wrap it up right there. That was really good, honestly. And I want to say this. This is a goal for everybody, if you're listening, to keep in mind. Next couple of days, weeks, months, work on being a little bit more transparent, a little bit more vulnerable. Try to worry about your image a little bit less, because your actions will speak for themselves, and your actions will create your character, and your character will create the image that you really need. And if you want to be somebody, just start doing it. You don't have to pretend to be somebody or put on this face or look a certain way. Your actions will speak for themselves. your character will speak for itself. So that's a goal that I feel like everyone should just work on. Of course, you don't have to. I'm just some guy talking on a microphone.
Figure out where you are in your autobiography and figure out how you want the rest of the story to go. On that note, we're far from finished. This is Josh.
And Daniel signing off.